Welcome back. So I just let the computer sit for a little bit to not remesh, UV unwrap our model. And probably split this into a part 2 of the video because the last part was getting a little long. So I'm going to try to keep this short and sweet. So we now have a UV mapped model, but it is not like any UV map you have ever seen. So feast your eyes upon this chaos. This is what the auto UV unwrapper does. This is as good as it gets. Without spending hundreds of dollars on custom software, this does the job. It's not perfect, but it does. So before we bake, we have to create a texture for the bake too. So we're gonna do, what's this? What are we even? Okay, I'll just call it a bust, I forget. Minerva, that's right, Minerva. Minerva underscore AO for ambient occlusion. And I'm going to do, for the sake of this video being short, I'm going to do a 2048 by 2048 texture. Often I do a 4K, 4096 by 4096, but it takes a little bit longer to render, so I'm not going to do that. Alright, so we got our texture. It's black, I know, but it'll do. Now, if I just baked ambient occlusion now, it wouldn't really work because, I mean, it would work, but it's not the effect we're looking for because we want to preserve all of the detail we can with our ambient occlusion map. So what we're going to do is we have our high poly here, remember? So we have our remesh, and then also we have our high poly too, right? We have this thing, which has all of our detail that we didn't want to lose. So we're going to have both of these visible. Okay, so we have high poly and remesh. Now we're going to select our high poly, and then we're going to shift click on our remesh. So that means that we have selected the high poly, but then remesh is active. That's the Blender terminology. So here we have to turn on ambient occlusion. I'm not using cycles. I'm using Blender render. I know, sue me. Blender users will know what I'm talking about. I'm going to set sampling to 20. Sometimes you can go higher, but just for the sake of this video being short. Ambient occlusion factor 1. Make sure it's on add. And then we're going to bake. So we go down here to bake. And don't do full render, do ambient occlusion. And now we're going to do selected. Bake shading on the surface of selected objects to the active object. So remember, we've selected high poly, and we're baking it to the active object, which is remesh. Okay, remesh just got UV mapped. Remesh is all that. Yeah. So we're taking the detailed data from the high poly model, baking it down onto the remesh. Okay. So this is going to make up for the little weird bits. Somewhat. We're also going to bake some normal maps too. So margin, 8 pixels, don't want that much. We're going to do normalized. That means it's going to ignore the color of the material. So it's going to make no ambient occlusion, pure white, and it's going to make full ambient occlusion, pure black, no matter what, which is really handy. Otherwise, it kind of makes everything gray and gross. All right, you ready? Bake. There we go. So as you can see, a little progress bar up here, and it takes forever. So, oh wait, no, it's actually going quite quickly. Never mind. So as you can see, it's baking out the textures. You can see it's sampling. It uses ray casting just like Cycles does all the time, but this is just for ambient occlusion. So I'm probably going to pause the video real quick. Or you know what, we could just sit back and enjoy the show. I'll talk about the museum. So the museum has about 15 sculptures right now, but I'm going to probably be adding more busts like these. I'm going to be adding a couple busts of Caesar. I really want to add Glauco Owen and Sons. He's a character from the Aeneid, which is a pretty cool Roman epic by Virgil. Should read it. And it's pretty cool. As a priest, you get attacked. He got attacked by these serpents from the ocean. It's pretty awesome. And they have this great statue of him in the Vatican. So yeah, I'm probably gonna put that in. I got requests for, in terms of paintings, I got requests for Norman Rockwell, and I got requests for some Impressionist pieces. Those are all great sounding, so I'll probably put all those in. But I just figured I'd do this bust of Minerva now. I have like 2 busts of Caesar from the British Museum, which means that they're all ready UV mapped and textured and all that. So I don't have to do this process for that. I usually bake a little bit of ambient occlusion on those just so that it makes the lighting look a little nicer in the museum, but I don't have to bake normals. I don't have to UV map this. Like, kind of pause the video for it. But Okay, this looks almost done. So once this is done, I will show you through the textured view how this will look. And now you have to remember that this is not actually going to get set as the texture data. Unity standard shader has this great little slot called occlusion. So what that does is, depending on the grayscale data of the occlusion map, it attenuates the ambient light coming from the global illumination you've calculated at the skybox or whatever. So that just kind of, instead of just making the statue black, which is sort of unrealistic, unless you're going for a dirty effect, it's sort of unrealistic. So all it does is it just modifies the lighting engine to sort of take into account how the ambient works. Okay, done. So let's hide our high poly so we don't see that anymore. So this is just our low poly. And now we are going to go to textured. And how nice. Oh, we still have a little bit of tiddly bits in there. That's too bad. Hopefully those will get sorted out when we put a real texture on. But that's unavoidable. That's too bad. I wish this would have turned out a little better. But for sake of tutorial, it works. I might go back and redo this a little higher resolution. But as you can see, in the little hole in our helmet, you can see that it put in darker bits, and it helps highlight helps highlight in her. And I have the weird keyboard commands to make sure this works on my laptop keyboard. Usually you need a numpad, but anyway, it helps to sort of show off the detail. Like you see her lips here. You might not really get that, and her eyes and all that. This is showing off data that was actually probably lost in the remesh, so that's nice. All right, so I'm going to cut the video here, and then in the next part I'll show how the normal mapping works. It's very similar, but it is only really visible as an effect once we get to Unity. All right, thanks guys.